This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
All right, welcome back to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Very eventful morning this morning. Had a great conversation to kick things off with Matt Steffen. Talked a little bit about his heavy hitters in MLF, and then we really got into a pretty interesting discussion just about kind of the state of the industry and how it's actually, I think, in a pretty good spot. And then we kind of closed it where we talked about the Bassmaster Elite Series on Lake 10 Killer that was a 1 ounce victory and done a number of different ways using forward-facing sonar, jigs, topwaters, spinner baits, chatterbaits, swim jigs, minnows, drop shots, jerk baits, swim baits, all sorts of things to get the job done. But when the Elite Series was in Oklahoma, you guys know, big supporter of the show, and have the Bass Cat all rigged out with the Bass Tank stuff from Scott Palmer of the Bass Tank. So we got Scott on here, and we're actually going to have a couple special guests here in a second. But Scott, thanks for jumping on BTL. You got to be proud with how the Bass Tank crew did this past week at Lake 10 Killer under some adverse conditions.
Yeah, I think adverse is putting it lightly, but I couldn't be more proud of the team. You know, to go out there and see the different styles. You know, we went out there and followed them around. We battled the torrential rains ourselves. But, you know, we're out there to support our guys and follow them around and, you know, heartbreak there at the end. You know, we were pulling for Mr. Loberg hardcore, and our heart broke. You know, that's a tough way to do it. I think I'd rather get beat, you know, by 10 pounds than 1 ounce. But at the end of the day, you couldn't ask for a better tournament unless they want to finish 1, 2, 3. But we're working towards that.
It is three of the Bass Tank guys in that event. Andrew obviously finished second. You had Bryant Smith, who finished in 35th, and then Justin Hamner in 41st. They all fished on the weekend. Talk a little bit real quick about how you kind of assemble a pro staff. I know we did a show with you after Hamner won the Classic, where quite frankly, you were freaking out that there was a Bass Tank wrap boat in the Classic right there, and all of a sudden he was the Classic champ. But one of the things you've done over this past year is really kind of taking it upon yourself to build a team with the Bass Tank that deals with the electronics, with the rigging. I know when I had my boat in there, Hamner's boat was there, then that came out, then you had Bryant's boat that came from somewhere else, and he wasn't there and was shipped in and was working it on that. And then Loberg came in at a separate time. So just talk a little bit about how in 2025 you decided to kind of assemble that pro team, and then be careful of what you say, because we're going to bring all three of those in about 2 minutes.
They can't hear me, can they? There's no way.
Oh, no, not
all right,
at all.
so I can say what I want. All right. Here's No, after the Classic, Justin and I had a talk. You know, Justin's been with me for a long time, so I've got that relationship with him, which is, Matt, you know me, that's what I'm about. I want to build long-term relationships. I don't want one-year deals. I want people that want to be with me long-term with what we're trying to build. And I asked him, I said, Justin, who do you know? And here's my edict. I want someone that's relationship-based, but known as a good person. Like, at the end of the day, I want good people that would be a good representation of the brand. And the first word out of his mouth was Bryant Smith. And I was like, okay, let me do a little bit of digging myself. And I can say without a doubt that every person that I went and asked, what's your opinion of Bryant Smith? That same response. You're not going to find a better guy. And it's kind of cool. If you surround yourself with good people, you continue to find more good people. Because once Bryant and I talked, I felt like there was an instant like, this makes sense. We can work together. He's going to be a good asset to the team. I felt like we were going to be a good asset to him. And so after we established that we were going to work together, I said, all right, Bryant, do you have anybody else? I still want to add one more person at this level this year. Who do you have? And his answer was Loberg. You need to give him a call. And so sure enough, he put us in contact, and after a phone call with Andrew, I thought, this is a young rookie, obviously a young gun coming in, but had a good head on his shoulders. And I thought, this is something we can start, a guy younger in his career and really build together. I really felt like I hate using the word vibed, but it felt right. And so I couldn't be happier. I feel like we've got a really good team. At the Classic this year at our booth, I stepped back and looked at everybody we've assembled, and I thought, man, we've got a really good team across the board. I think we've got some really good people that work well together. That's the other thing. I think we've got complementary teammates. I've got some guys at the opens level as well, Matt Adams and Cranford, yourself. I just feel like we've got a really good team across the board that represents the brand and what we're trying to do.
So with all those Elite Series guys in town, you did the Bass Tank Blowout at a local area lake here in Oklahoma. So I was like, hey, we'll do a pop-up BTL. We'll bring some of them in. Obviously wanted to get Loberg on the show along with Wes Logan. So working on trying to get Wes Logan on, but we'll bring Mr. Loberg in right now. Andrew, thanks for jumping on BTL.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. This is cool.
Excited, depressed, sad, angry, ready to get back after it, ready to not fish for a while. I mean, it's your rookie season. You're 7 events in, and you came up an ounce from lifting your first blue trophy. Just kind of 24 hours later, those initial feelings of being in a dogfight like that on a very fickle Lake 10 killer.
Yeah, it was one of those deals, like right after it went down, it was like, yeah, I'm pretty bummed, like anybody would be, but hindsight, looking back at it, it was an awesome week. Got great exposure for all the companies I work with, especially the Bass Tank here in Oklahoma. It was awesome to be a part of. And then, it was a tough lake. It was, hard to figure out and do well. So, I can't complain one bit. I've had a pretty roller coaster type of year, and I'm excited that, a top 10 finish of on Lake 10 killer with 2 more events left. I gotta do well in these next 2 to make the Classic, but there's still hope. But no, looking back at it, I'm happy for Wes that he won.
Whoa. You back? Oh, try jumping out and jumping back on. We got some weird audio there. Oh, there we go. You're back? Yeah, I got you. I don't know. It kind of went bzzz all of a sudden. You're just talking about that you're happy for Wes that he won, but I mean, obviously you wish you'd gotten the dub.
Totally, yeah. No, it was overall a great week. Can't complain.
One of the things that I find interesting in fishing is the mental grind that comes through it. The Opens are 3 days. A lot of team tournaments are 2 days. BFLs, what most of the guys fish is 1 day. This is 4 days. You jumped out with the lead on day 1 like that, and then you continued to hold that lead with 17-9, 18-4, and 15-9 limits. Just kind of looking back on a hindsight, in contention, in first place, how much more difficult or how much easier was it for you trying to go wire to wire in this thing with all the attention on you after each day, knowing how much the conditions were changing?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty tough. I wasn't really too worried about all the eyes and whatnot, but with the amount of pressure that was on a lot of the banks I was fishing was probably the biggest thing. It was just hard to find new water, and I was trying to fish new water throughout the tournament. So it definitely made it difficult because there was so much pressure on that northern half of the lake. And then obviously the lake level coming up and, going down and then coming back up. There was a lot of different variables. You kind of had to move with it. But I think some of the areas that I was fishing kind of just dried up and I didn't adjust that final day. I still think I played it fairly safe, even though, I kind of whacked them day 1 and 2. I feel like I played it safe as far as like saving some areas. But you know what? It is what it is. I was still happy with my decision making.
Yeah, $20,000 got you back in it with 3 strong finishes back in the Bassmaster Classic conversation to qualify for that there in Tennessee at the end of the year. 2 of the guys I want to bring in that are securely, as of now, well inside the Bassmaster Classic list. They're having their own conversation right there. What are you doing, Hamner?
Oh, wow. Me and Brian were just... We're talking about the fireworks going off right now.
I was talking about that 35th place finish for Bryant Smith, 41st for Hamner. Brian, we'll start with you. You're a little higher. You finish higher, and you're higher in the Angler of the Year standings. So we'll start chatting with you. Hopefully you get unfroze there. We're literally trying to do this by the seat of our pants. Are they frozen now? I think they're both frozen. They were totally fine, and now they're both frozen like this. This is what we do when we try to do it. All right. I'm going to kick them out.
If they put their phone outside, it'll melt. So maybe they should do that.
Yeah, Scott, so explain what you're doing, Scott, as far as getting these guys all together in one place and kind of what that purpose serves for the Bass Tank and for these guys to kind of work together.
Yeah, well, after having everybody together, it's kind of a unique opportunity. And I wanted to do something. We did a cookout yesterday at the house. The whole crew came over. We had burgers and hot dogs, played some cornhole, just had a good old time. And, part of that is just, again, letting the team mingle, building relationships. And then today was competitive, but fun, as well. And it's maybe hopefully something we're able to do on a yearly basis. I've got some specialty things to hand out, some specialty awards to hand out here in a minute. But just so you know, Mr. Hamner is going to have a pretty big penalty to overcome on a very tough day, so I don't think he's going to be in contention. But, I just wanted to say that out loud for everybody to know because, he knows why. He knows why.
All right. I think we got him now. Do we have Hamner and Bryant now? Or are they frozen again? Everyone's working perfectly except Hamner and Bryant's stuff. Oh, no, they're not moving. All right.
I'm looking at him.
He's back. Just have him. Can we hear you guys now? Now he's muted his mic and now the mic's not unmuted. You're choosing to mute yourself. Okay. Well, now we got Brian on his own. And now we're in there. All right, now we're working. Okay, guys. I'm not sure.
My phone overheated.
Oh,
it closed everything. Is that?
What was your thought, Brian? You're a California guy, kind of like Andrew is, but I know how much you like Hartwell, how you like these type of fisheries. What was your thought of 10 Killer? Did that remind you of a West Coast lake at all?
No, because it was flooded, and we don't flood very often out on the West Coast. But just the power fishing that you could do definitely reminded me of it. Like a Clear Lake Delta, especially the Delta. I'm sure Andrew brought it up with the water coming up and down, having to follow those fish. I think the tidal training that we've had on the Delta definitely helped be comfortable with adjusting to the water level.
Did any of you guys try to scope out there, like exclusively scope? I thought this could turn into a scope fest, kind of with the water level is different. You mentioned, Justin, you tried to go after the see them and catch them.
Yeah, I did a lot of that. In practice, it was, for me at least, 17 pounds a day was pretty easy. Like, I thought that was going to be the deal. And then about halfway through the first day, I realized these fish aren't biting. It was the most finicky biting fish I think I've ever fished for. It was like the wind would pick up 1 mile per hour and they would completely change. So I ended up catching them out of the bushes, but it was different every day.
You raised your hand, Andrew. You didn't do much scoping on live at all, but that was kind of your game plan going into it?
Yeah, the first 2 days of practice, that was my whole ordeal was to try to scope, and then the last day of practice I went shallow and kind of had both planned. And I actually started out deep day one, and it really wasn't happening, so I went to the bank.
Interesting. And then size of the fishery, I know that was a big discussion. 12,000 acres made it a little bit interesting with the water level, water clarity in some of the areas. But Bryant, had to have been the smallest venue that you'd ever competed on in the Elite Series. I don't know, some of the guys, Hamner, you probably competed on Neely Henry, which I think is a comparable size to that. But you fished on a 12,000 acre on 10 Killer. Now, what are your thoughts as far as, is that too small, or are there a bunch of those 12 to 15,000 acre lakes that Bassmaster could look at now that you guys have done a 10 Killer?
It's definitely small. There's no doubt about it. But,
I think we got lucky with the conditions as well, with that water coming up and down and moving those fish around a lot for us. If it was stable, I think it would have been a totally different tournament, because you wouldn't have been able to recycle water like we were able to. But I think it also adds kind of a really cool challenge to it, trying to figure out something different than everybody else. Obviously, everybody figured out the shallow water deal, but if you could find something different on a smaller fishery like that, it adds kind of a unique challenge to a tournament.
I love it.
Yeah, we're used to having tournaments, like the Pasquotank River, where it's like there's no way I could even go out of the boundaries. And coming to 10 Killer, it's like, oh, I'm going to go around this lake 3 times in practice. So it's a cool challenge, though. I really liked it.
Justin, kind of your thoughts on that same thing, and were there little things that you could find that were out of the way, or did you find, all three of you cash checks, made money in this event? Did you find, Justin, that you could go behind guys and catch fish doing something a little different?
100%. That's kind of why I liked it, is everybody's finding all the same stuff, and then it's just down to who can catch them better. And I mean, there's little sneaky things that you can do and different little deals, but I know I caught myself idling over the same brush piles twice in practice. Like, it's like, oh, I've already been here. So yeah, everybody finds everything, but then it's just down to who can catch them the best.
Yeah. So, Andrew, were you sharing water with people, or did you kind of have some stretches to yourself?
I had a couple areas to myself, but yeah, I was sharing a decent amount of water with some folks for sure.
Was it new water too by the time from, that first day, the 17-9, to the last day? Could you fish through the same areas and it fished like a completely different lake?
Yeah, like the first day of the tournament when the water was at its lowest, I think, or first or second day, I couldn't fish some of the stuff I fished the last 2 days. So there was definitely some changes, which made it good, like Bryant was saying, of how much the fish actually moved.
Interesting. And then who do you room with? You room with a bunch of guys who usually catch them, and some of them didn't catch them this week.
Paul Marks, Tucker Smith, and Emil Wagner.
Yeah. You guys had like the whole house has made cuts and stuff before. I was kind of surprised that some of those guys didn't. Do you think were they like all scoping?
All three of them, yeah, they were scoping.
What made you go up shallow then?
Because I was, like Brian said, I scanned the lake 3 different times. And I'm like, I need to go fish something else and go power fish. This is ridiculous. And I just saw the water kind of falling, and I felt like, a lot of those bushes and stuff and some banks kind of had them positioned a little bit easier. So I kind of just went practice and had a pretty decent practice doing it the last day, and just went and did it.
All right, a couple more questions, and we'll let you guys get back after it. Justin, you've been through a lot of sponsor stuff, especially after winning the Bassmaster Classic a couple years ago, actually in Oklahoma. Talk a little bit about how important it is. Fishing is a very individual sport, right? But you have like little groups of guys. You guys are a team here together. You got the 3 guys with the Bass Tank. You got Scott up there that's putting it. Talk a little bit about what you're doing today, and then kind of the importance of little events like this, getting together, working with guys who are your sponsors, who are putting you in the best position to succeed, and kind of why that's important.
That was one of the coolest and like best things for me after winning the Classic was, yeah, I can kind of pick and choose like the sponsors a little bit more. I don't want that to sound arrogant or whatever, but it opens up a lot of doors, and just being able to work with the people that like truly, like Scott is one of my close friends now, and just being able to get along with, because these are people you work with and work for, so you want to be able to trust them, know that they got your back, and also that they're going to promote you. Like the stuff we're doing right now, they didn't have to, Scott didn't have to have us over and make all this content for us when, a lot of companies just expect us to do it all on our own. So that means a lot to us, especially as much as we're on the road, being able to actually promote us. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Plus he's pretty good at electronics.
Yeah, he is. I'm assuming he's jumped in all of your boats and like made sure everything was dialed in and gone through all the weird reasoning that you'll never understand why and hit all the buttons and stuff.
There's a point at which you just tell Scott to stop talking. I don't understand what you're saying.
So I modified my my beatdown outdoors mount. So I have the Garmin 19-inch up front, and if you don't know, it's probably about 150 pounds. So I added like a little stabilizer, and it was a little home rig. Scott saw it last night and about had a panic attack. So you're welcome, Scott.
Brian, it seems to me like it's amazing. I don't know whether I'm just getting older or what, but it seems to me like you should be an Elite Series rookie, but you're in almost through 3 years on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Drastically underrated. You only have you're almost 3 years in. You only have 4 finishes below 65th place, which is really strong. Multiple classic qualifications. Just talk about kind of that first 2+ years coming from California. A lot of success out there. I know Ish always jokes on Open Pros Pick'em how glad all the guys on the West Coast are that you made the Elite Series and you can no longer fish out there. But how long has it taken you to kind of get your footing and feel kind of like an established Elite Series pro and not just that you're kind of surviving?
It definitely took till this year. This season, I've kind of gotten comfortable with it. It's an intimidating group of anglers to fish against, and growing up watching a lot of these guys on TV, it's intimidating. So to get comfortable, it takes a little while. It took a little while for me, but this is the season, and I think it's showing in my performance this year that this is the season where I've gotten really comfortable with it. I understand how everything works. I've learned how to travel, do the whole live on the West Coast and still fish on the East Coast thing. But having that comfort level definitely helps your performance. There's no doubt.
And now we can actually see his graphs. They're rigged right. You should have seen the rigging he had done before. It was unreal.
What percentage? I'll ask this, like Andrew. What percentage of guys do you think? We'll start with Justin because he's been around the longest, so he's probably not afraid to answer it. Like, even at the Elite Series level, what percent of guys do you think actually have their stuff, their electronics, their forward-facing sonar, their side imaging, their down imaging dialed in, and what percent are still? It could use some improvement.
I'd say 20% are probably dialed in. We
out of the Elite Series.
I'd say 20%.
Wow.
I'd say 50% or 50 to 60% are like, that's good. It could be better, but it'll get the job done. 20%, I wouldn't let my grandma look at that.
Really? Andrew, you room with a bunch of guys who are, I would imagine the guys you room with have it dialed in, but have you gotten in the boat with some of the guys and been like, wait a second, this is what you're working with?
No, pretty much most of the guys that I've been in the boat with, their stuff's pretty dialed. So
yeah, well, I mean, Emil, Tucker.
Yeah,
you picked the wrong three to ask.
they're probably some of the best on how to remap and side scan, I'll tell you that right now.
But all right, I'm going to let you guys get back on the water. I'm going to wrap things up with Scott. So considering where you guys are in Oklahoma, and I know what kind of signal you have, I consider this a smashing success. Anytime I have a chance to get three of the top Elite Series pros on the show, I greatly appreciate it. So Andrew, Bryant, Justin Hamner, thanks for jumping on BTL. I need to have like individual. Well, I have Hamner on all the time. I need to get Bryant and Andrew on for individual shows. We were one of the first groups. Remember we had you on 4 years ago, Loberg?
Yeah.
3-4 years ago?
Yep.
It was back when Jeffries was still running the stuff.
Yep.
So, all right, have at it. Get back out there in the afternoon. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah. All right. Back to Scott. All right. Well, yeah, you're right. That is kind of like herding cats. But what is the goal for today when you guys are out there on the water? Is it content? Is it education? Is it camaraderie? Is it kind of a mixture of both? I say this just with Bass Tank because we have the opportunity to do that. You guys have the opportunity to do that now, and they're a sponsor. But this happens. We just lost Scott. We got him back. This happens across the board with a bunch of different companies, a bunch of different sponsors, whether it's bait sponsors, boat sponsors, electronic sponsors. You're the guy that's putting this all together, kind of put it in encapsulation. You got 3 guys, 2 from, all with families, 2 from California, 1 from Alabama. That makes it worth spending some extra time in Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, and as soon as we saw the schedule, and I knew they were going to be in 10 Killer. I reached out to them. I know these guys have other lives besides what they work with us, and so I wanted to give them time to plan to see if it's something we could do. And they're all. What was great about it, without hesitation, they're like, yeah. At first it was just a cookout. Then I had this idea. I'm like, dude, let's do a Bass Tank Blowout, like a tournament that we can just have fun. We're competitive. And I'll bring my guys, and we'll pair up in a team tournament competition. It'll be good content, but at the end of the day, call it team building, if you will. Use that cliche. Just my guys, I want them to be more comfortable with the team overall. I want the guys that were rigging their boats to be more comfortable with my team, that works actually at the office, which they are. But the more we can do stuff like this, and then the content side of it, as well as I know that content is invaluable and you can never have enough. So it just, all in all, I just want, and at the other side, like the cookout last night, I really want to do something special just to show my appreciation because I do have a good team, and really had a lot of support and putting it together. And it's, I can't say a whole lot more because it's just something I thought would be fun to do, and a way I can show my appreciation to the team as well.
Well done. For any of your electronics needs, rigging, electronics, all that stuff, check out the THE Bass Tank, BASSTANK.com. Yeah, I think we got through it. I appreciate it, Scott.
I think we did. Yeah, I appreciate you
all
having us on, and we're going to go give out some awards.
All right, have fun, dude.
All right, thanks, man.
See ya. All right. So I give the audio and all that about a 4 out of 10. I'm still going to put it out there, though. It's a really cool that all those guys were willing to do that Scott was willing to do that, put it together, a little bit of behind the scenes look. You can find all of that content will be put out on the Bass Tank on Facebook and the social medias. So got some recorded shows coming up for the rest of the week. Working on it. I'm actually headed to Alaska later this week, but figured we'd do 2 BTLs in one day and get Andrew Loberg 1 ounce off of the Victory by West Logan there on Lake 10 Killer. Some really good footers, some really good stuff. 3 really good guys there that you should all follow. And Bryant Smith, Justin Hamner, and Andrew Loberg. All right, this has been another edition of BTL. We will talk to everyone later. See ya.